Sup, Demuxed? It's time for your yearly mock talk. You can't escape. Like, you're here. We locked the doors. That's a joke. Don't panic. But yeah, I'm Luke, and I'm doing not another tech demo. So what is Media Over Quick? I'm not going to give you the full nitty-gritty. Some of you guys know. Some of you guys don't care. But basically, I started at Twitch. I was working on the HLS system and trying to reduce latency. We're using low latency HLS. We're doing frame-by-frame fragmentation with chunk transfer, basically pushing TCP to its limits. And I was put in charge of looking to using WebRTC to give it to all viewers for distribution. And yeah, that didn't work very well. Spoiler, like HLS is a distribution protocol for a reason. So we pivoted a few times. We started with media. We went to data channels. We went to like datagrams over data channels, a hack. I wrote a bunch of code. I deleted it. And eventually found something called Quick and something called WebTransport. Signed up to the Origin trial, one of the first people to use it. Turns out at the same time, Meta was also doing something similar. They were trying to fix RTMP. And they're still using it today. They're using Quick for Facebook Live and just their own protocol over it. And Cisco also trying to fix WebRTC. And we realized that we're all using Quick. It's this new protocol. It powers HTTP3. The CDNs love it. They all have these optimized implementations of it, and it's at scale. And most importantly, there's browser support for it now. There's something called WebTransport. You can think of it kind of like WebSocket 2.0. And there's also HTTP3. You can technically use Quick that way. But we realized we're all doing something similar. We're doing some form of media over Quick. So I pitched, let's join forces. I wrote the first draft in 2022. I wish. And it's an IETF working group. So we're working together. We're trying to figure out a way that we can do all these different, fix all these different problems. Google joined the fray. The first thing they did was replace me as the author, because the adults are in the room now. Akamai joined. Will's doing a lot of stuff, and he fortunately took over all the CMAF stuff for me, so I don't have to do all those standards. Cloudflare, a bunch of other companies are all involved. We have, every 2 months we meet in person. Every 2 weeks we have a virtual meeting. There's thousands of GitHub issues, tens of thousands of comments. And 4 years later, we have something to show you, which is not a demo. It's just Big Buck Bunny. Like, you go to my website, and this is what I show you. I say, this is the state-of-the-art protocol, and I'm just playing this video. By the way, I downloaded Blender from 2008 to render this like different camera angle for you guys. You see behind-the-scenes footage of the actual source material. But who cares? Like, you can't go up and show your boss, like, look at this, it's Big Buck Bunny. We should use this. It's just a video tag, basically, right? Like, we spent all this work, all this arguing to do, what amounts to a pretty crummy tech demo. There are some better demos out there, like Mocktail's doing a lot of stuff now, but at the end of the day, they're all demos. And they're really not much better than the alternatives. In fact, they're usually worse than the alternatives. They're demos. Why is it so slow? So my theory is, like, first off, standards are meant to be slow. It's the IETF. They take forever. That's why they do stuff like DNS and HTTP and TCP and all these protocols that have longevity, even WebRTC. But what's especially hard with mock is it's an experimental protocol, and we're doing it by committee. So there's a lot of good ideas out there. We add them to the draft. There's a lot of bad ideas out there. We add them to the draft. And it's really hard to remove those bad ideas because you need consensus. You need basically everybody to be happy with it. And we also just have scope creep like crazy. So we're trying to do distribution, contribution, real-time, higher latency, and now even VOD. And we have to have a plan for everything. We need to figure out how ABR, DRM, server-side ad insertion, fallbacks for HTTP and CMAF. Like, we have to have at least a plan for everything, and we're not even close. So it's why it's taking so long. It's going to take longer. Even Quick, which Google basically made Quick with Speedy. It's in production. They say, hey, IETF, standardize this. And I think it still took like 6 years. We don't even have that thing in production to standardize. It's going to take longer and longer and longer. But I've had enough. I'm done with tech demos. I don't want no more tech demos. Do not show me a tech demo. I'm done with arguing. I was spending so much time on GitHub just saying, like, hey, I think this is a better way of doing media over Quick. And I'm just done with WebRTC. Like, I don't want to do WebRTC anymore. I need to get out. Please, please. I don't want to do ICE again. I don't want to do STP. I don't want to do all these like nonsense like protocols from the 90s. I want to make a real app. I want something in production, something that you can look at, you can learn from. So I did something really dumb. Yeah, I quit. So I was at Discord. Discord's a great company. And hopefully they will hire me again once they switch to MoQ. But I also quit IETF. I stopped participating in the IETF. I'm still kind of like here and there, like I'm going to some of the meetings, but I'm just vibe coding like crazy. To the point where Cursor even reached out, because I'm apparently one of the top users of it. There's like, you got 50,000 tabs accepted, so they sent me a custom tab key. And the worst part is, like, I'm mostly using Claude Code at this point, so it's not even, like, I'm hedging my bets there. So I'm vibe coding like crazy, just trying to make a real application. So made something kind of dumb. It's called hang.live. You can go there. You can tell it's my style. I don't want to be professional. I don't want this to be serious. I want this to be fun. And I really want to show off what you can do with media over quick, and show that it is ready. You can make something real. Probably not what I did. Like, the product is cringe, like, to be honest. Maybe your kids will like it, but it's really there as a proof. It's living proof that this is what you can do with media over quick. When you're using it and you have a conference call, there's no WebSocket connection, there's no HTTP request, you're sitting in a room, it's only a single connection to a CDN. Except on Safari, we have to use a fallback for that. It is open source, so all the networking and media is open source Rust and TypeScript libraries. And then the closed source stuff is all the UI, the memes, the stuff that you guys don't want to steal anyway. Like, it's all vibe coded. Like, if you want, you just ask the AI to generate some Tailwind or whatever. It's not that bad. But more and more, I'll put more into the open source library. Like, for example, my WebGL rendering I want to release and try to make that generic. If you want, you can do a live demo. I'm not crazy enough to do one on stage. You can go hang.live/@Demuxed. Somebody can post it on Discord. Don't turn your webcam on or stuff like that. Like, you'll probably take down the Wi-Fi, the venue, or you'll take down my poor server in Amsterdam. But just type /huh every time I say something stupid, and you'll get this cat show up. But yeah, some notable features. So these are notable not because they are easy, but because they are hard. I was going to be like my JFK impression, but I couldn't nail the accent. So these are things that you can do with WebRTC. It's possible. You can use insertable streams. You can do a lot of these techniques with WebRTC yourself. But nobody does because it's a lot. And I wanted to show off a few things just to show what you can do. The first thing is I really hate how conference apps all use a grid. I hate how they just like, hey, we want you to interact with people. Hey, we want you to interact with people. You're in this tiny little cell. Like, you cannot move from this cell. That's the limit of your interaction, is just voice and video. So I added drag and drop. The idea here is it's using media over quick. You can have an audio track, a video track, and you can have arbitrary tracks. The encoding doesn't matter so long as both clients agree on how to decode it. So in this case, I'm just sending XYZ positions over the network using the CDN distributes them. And you can use that to then use WebGL to render it at the right spot. I even have this little mesh, so I'm just like deforming the vertex. And WebCodecs, everything's a texture. So you can just render a texture onto a teapot if you want. And that would be my face. I just didn't want you guys to see that again. And there's even audio panning. So the X position is used to figure out which headphone it's on. And this is all in the web. This is all in the browser. I want to really break out of just this MSE box. And I think it's time. I think it's time for the industry to have more custom rendering. And oh, I see people are in there. Yeah, nice. And even based on the screen orientation, it changes where people are positioned. So works pretty well. Again, you can do this very easily with media over quick because you can just have extra tracks. You don't need to set up a data channel sidecar or WebSocket sidecar. You just put it with the media. This one's a bit nerdier. I implemented on-demand simulcast. So one of the things with Media Over Quick is it's inherently a pub/sub protocol. When a viewer, let's say, is unmuted, they want audio, and they say, hey, please give me your audio. The CDN will take that and merge all the duplicate requests together and send one subscription to the broadcaster, and then they will start transferring it over the network. What's interesting is when nobody wants it, then nothing gets transferred over the network. And you don't even spin up the encoder with at least my library. And this really matters for a lot of the cringe AI features I've been had to, because at some point I might need funding. I need something. So for example, Whisper, if nobody wants captions, then it doesn't load the Whisper model locally, and it doesn't start generating captions. And once the first person needs it, then it will generate them. And they get distributed just like media over the CDN. So it's just a cool little efficiency thing. I added, again, simulcast, so there's 2 video tracks, and players choose based on which the display size, based on your screen resolution, which one you want. And of course, bitrate. And it just seamlessly works. You spin up an encoder on demand. Again, you can do this, and it is supported by WebRTC. It's just you kind of have to do it their way. It's hard to do something more custom like this. Room service. So again, something missing from WebRTC is it's standardized how you connect to a server now with WIP and WAP. But there's really no way of figuring out who else is in that room, like who else are you talking to. Media Over Quick has a built-in discovery mechanism. When you connect to a CDN, like you connect to, like, I don't know, Cloudflare's Edge or something, you say, I am publishing this path. I am publishing, hang.live/room123/kixelated. And what that does is that gets announced to everybody who cares about that prefix. So everybody learns who else is in room 123, and you can then discover, and then you can subscribe to tracks. In this case, I just make a track. It's called preview.json, which is just a Boolean state of if they're talking or not. And now you can see if people are talking without downloading the video or downloading the audio. You can kind of get like a, you can get a preview without like leaking everything they're doing and just lurking on them. This is also really useful for discovering when broadcasts go live and not. So with HLS, if you're waiting for a broadcast to go live, a lot of times you just sit there hitting F5, just refresh the manifest every time and see maybe it won't be a 404 this time. But this is you just get a notification from the CDN when your broadcast is available. And same thing with a primary and a backup stream or something. You just get announcements. You can learn what's available that you can download. So I think that's really cool. Platform support. One of the benefits of quitting is and putting my money where my mouth is I need to support iOS, right? Like I can't make this like friend hangout app and then it doesn't work on iPhones. Like nobody's going to use it. So of course this works in Chrome. Firefox, it works as well. WebCodecs, WebTransport, everything's now latest Firefox. Safari is a different problem. I do have polyfills. So for example, they don't have the audio codecs stuff was added in the most recent iOS build that came out like a month or 2 ago. So for older browsers, I basically have FFmpeg compiled to WASM just for Opus. It's a mess. And most importantly, I also have a WebSocket fallback. So if UDP is blocked on your network, you're on a corporate network, or you're on a server that doesn't support Quick, or you're on Safari, unfortunately, the player will simultaneously try both. And you're going to get a worse experience on WebSocket. You're going to get headline blocking, but at least it works. And then native. So I'm just using a web view for all the native platforms. So there's an iOS app, Android app, Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever. It's just a web view. And that's what I think is really cool with this, is it's a web-first technology. It's something that now you can do it. That's why you have to use WebRTC in general, is it's the only thing that works in the web. Native platforms, you can do whatever you want. And I really want to get a proper native mock implementation, especially in iOS, if people are interested. But for right now, it's just a web view, and it works, kind of. And dumb memes. So like I said, you just can make tracks. So I have a chat track, and it's just Markdown. And when you receive a slash command, it plays this, this cat going, huh, huh. That is actually a WebM file with VP9, because apparently it supports transparency. I didn't know that, except on Safari. So on Safari, I even wrote a WebGL shader just to do chroma key removal, to remove the green screen. So that's happening on the player. And audio visualization. There's like so many things you can do in the web now. So this little outline is using audio analyzer. It does a FFT, looks at the, gives you the frequency waves, gives you the, you can figure out the volume, and just render something like this outline to show the volume. It's fun. Like even the morphing, like when you mouse wheel, it gets bigger. So a lot of things you can do. The world's your oyster. What's next? So use it. So there's a Rust server. It's basically a host your own CDN. Like Hang.Live Live uses, there's a node in every region. They all gossip. You can just run it yourself. It's open source. There's also a GStreamer plugin. It's pretty bad. Hopefully somebody from GStreamer, like people that understand how pads work, like can make it better, because I've given up. And even FFmpeg integration. It's just CMAF import. You pipe CMAF over standard in, and it sends it over the network. I'd be mostly focused on the TypeScript client, because again, WebRTC has forced you to be the only option for web support. And everybody in MoQ seems to be server and CDN people. So somebody has to take the L, and somebody has to be a front-end JavaScript coder. So that's what I'm doing. Just out of somebody needs to do it. So hopefully, again, the player folk here, like please take over. But I want to go back to Rust land, but I can't just yet. So check out MoQ.dev for more information. Links to the source code, links to the Discord as well. Like join that. There's like 1,000 people in it right now, which is crazy. As for standards, the elephant in the room, I am being forwards compatible. The idea is that I'm going to support every CDN, every MoQ CDN out there. I'm going to make sure my clients work with it. I'm just not going to implement all the Cisco junk. Like, basically, my version of the draft is 1/10 of the size. This is what you actually need. Everything else is just like different ways of doing things or just complexity for complexity's sake. So the clients will work with any CDN that decides to implement everything, but I'm just not going to do VOD, for example, right now necessarily. I'm going to punt that until later, until it's maybe necessary, or find another way of doing it, like HTTP. Cloudflare made we did a joint like blog post thing. They're running a fork of my code on every edge node now. So they're committed to releasing it as a CDN. Akamai, so Will's also doing OpenMock, which you should check out which is cool because companies are actually financially committing to it now. So to join OpenMock, it's like a full-time engineer and some money every year. So it's really nice to see companies like putting their money where their mouth is. That being said, like I take pull requests. You don't need to join the consortium necessarily. And if you need to send money somewhere for your organization to commit to something, like I haven't been taking sponsorships, but we can figure it out. Like if that's what it takes, like sure. One last thing I want to give a shout out to NanoCosmos because they're using MoQ. They're selling it. You can probably see in the booth. It's not using my stuff. It's not using the IETF standard, but it is media and it is quick. And I think the most important thing right now is to iterate in production. Like iterate, learn the things, like stop iterating in theory. That's my rant over about the IETF standard. So recommendations. I wanted to leave you guys with something concrete, some free consulting. If you actually want free consulting, I'm bored. So, hit me up. I'm just in my home office all day talking to myself. So you should use HLS or RTMP when your users do not want to skip any content. So if you're doing, let's say, sports streaming, and you're streaming a soccer game, and your users want to see every little bit of action, and they're OK with buffering, they're OK with 3 to 5 seconds of latency, then you should use HTTP. Like the economies of scale are unmatched. The support is unmatched. It's the best way of doing VOD, and it will stay the best way of doing VOD for a long, long time. Do not use MoQ for VOD. That's my bold claim. Like maybe one day, but for right now, it doesn't make any sense. So you can use WebRTC when your users want Google Meet. It's amazing, like the QS, the optimizations they do. My job has been to reverse engineer a lot of what they do and implement it. And it's nuts how much they test in production. And all these QS algorithms are born out of like just sheer scale and sheer optimizing for one product. It's not great when you try to do things outside the box, You know, like for example, game streaming, it's just not part of Google Meet's offering, so it's not great at it necessarily. But it's great at conferencing. So SRT. SRT does one thing that really well that MoQ doesn't do, and it is production ready. So that is a great reason to use it. That being said, do not look at the spec, because from network protocol design, it's a mess. But use it because the other options, you know, aren't great either. So, and MoQ, when you should use media real quick? When you want control. So it's hard to pitch flexibility as like a selling point. Do not rewrite your tech stack for flexibility. You want to add, you know, features to it. You want to use that flexibility for something, and eventually scale. It's designed with this really nice layering. So we have a quick layer, which is again CDNs optimize it. It's highly efficient. It's available everywhere. You can use any big CDN's quick library in any language. You have the transport layer, which is what the CDNs will support. It's basically a way of sending your opaque blob of media and giving it a few headers to say this is what you should do during congestion. And then everything else, you can use a standard. You can use some, you could do CMAF over MoQ. You could do what I'm doing, hang over MoQ. So long as both clients agree on how to decode, it doesn't matter. So I really like that flexibility, and that will scale. It naturally scales to 1 to n, because everything fans out. There's really no way you can, fanning in is hard, actually. It's an explicit like anti-goal. But with great power comes great responsibility. Unfortunately, you have to implement, you know, for example, if you want to do WebRTC, you need to do everything in JavaScript now. You don't get the benefit of the sidecar. So don't implement that yourself necessarily. Like you can take my libraries, just steal them, like fork them, whatever. But you do realize that with all this flexibility, you will be reinventing the wheel. And if you're okay with committing to that, if you're running into like limits with what you can do with HLS stash, if you're running into limits what you can do with WebRTC or SRT or whatever, and you want one protocol that can do everything, then I think MoQ is a good choice. But you do have to be in it for the long haul. That's it. I'm Luke at Kixelated. Again, check out moq.dev and the Discord server. Join the Discord. You can just argue with guest. People know who guest is. Like we'll see. Guest in a bunch of numbers. That's all I got. Thanks for having me.